Welcome, everyone, to the Pint and Click podcast. My name is Caleb,
And my name is Greg.
and we're going to talk to you about your favorite video games. So grab a pint of your favorite drink, find a nice, comfy chair, and turn on your virtual boy as we dive into this.
Yes, this podcast will be broadcast exclusively in red.
Red and straight lines.
Straight, just awful polygons. So, Caleb, this is episode 4.
It is.
It's hard to believe we're here already.
I know. Feels like we're hitting a milestone pretty soon here. You know.
So before you know it, we're gonna have a month-old baby.
We are indeed.
Yeah, I don't know what the appropriate development for a month-old is, but smoking cigarettes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know what point it is, but like, are we almost at the point where we leave to go get the cigarettes and then we don't come back to it?
I think, no, I think we let them get a little more, we'll get a little more object permanence first, so it really scars the child.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, we've started Blue this week. So, Caleb, I'm gonna seize the first topic this week. I'm taking it for my own.
Yeah, please do.
Like I was telling you, I had to call in a ringer this week. None of the games on my backlog were really hitting the spot. Nothing was really giving me what I wanted. Luckily, Steam had their summer sale. Or, nope, not summer, spring sale, rather. All the S's got me mixed up there. And a game that went on sale during Steam's spring sale is Neon White. Do you have any familiarity with Neon White?
I don't know.
I've been wanting to play this game for a while. It came out in 2022. It kind of combines first-person shooting and puzzle platforming into this game that's like just perfect speedrunning game. It's basically designed to be a game where you are going through levels over and over again and speedrunning and trying to shave time off of your runs.
Interesting. Yeah, I just looked it up. I have seen things about this game before, but I've never played it.
Yeah, it's developed by Angel Matrix and published by Annapurna Interactive. And the thing about this game and why I want to bring it to the podcast is it had a lot of kind of interest around it last year. It got really good reviews. People really seem to like this game. And if you're like me and you kind of either had your eye on it or maybe you're not, maybe you're more Caleb and you didn't know about it, this is a game that I think has just very mass appeal and is really good for most people. It's like a game that I could almost recommend to... It wouldn't be like a beginner game by any means, but if you've been playing games for a while, there's probably something in this game for you.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check this one out.
So, it really scratches an itch for me because I like a lot of the speedrunning. I can get into some speedrunning videos on YouTube, but I have no illusions that I'm going to be able to commit that time or get to the skill level to ever be in a speedrunning community. That's
absolutely.
just not going to be me.
Yep.
So this game really does a good job to scratch that itch without making me feel like I have to commit the time. It's hard to describe this game from a perspective of there's just so many things going on that work so fluidly that it's almost hard to boil it down.
Yeah.
But I guess first off, what I would say is, I'll get this out of the way. The character design in this game and the story just are not for me. They're not my style.
Yep, that's fair.
I skip through every cutscene. It's almost visual novel style cutscenes.
Yep.
With voice acting, which is a good quality thing, but it just I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about the story. The character designs have these masks that are just they kind of make me cringe a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's actually one of the things that one of the reasons I didn't get into this game, because I've seen things about it, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. The character design, I remember looking at that and thinking, yeah, maybe not.
For sure. But where this game excels and what keeps you coming back in is gameplay and level design. The levels all look really good, they are visually appealing, but they're also just laid out so perfectly that there's 2 or 3 different kind of ways around the level. There's a couple of, you run it the way that it's very obvious that it's laid out the first time. Then you go back and you kind of see out of the corner of your eye a little shortcut you could take, and you try taking that shortcut, and it works out, and you shave some time off. It's just, the gameplay is so refined. It does this really good, really kind of effective thing where it's got a low skill floor, if you will, but a high skill ceiling. So it's really accessible to just jump in, get running around, jumping using the guns, but then also if you want to get a little deeper, and it kind of has mechanics that suck you in a little deeper. You start really kind of working on getting a little bit better at every run.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess to try and sum up these gameplay mechanics is basically you pick up cards. You have a katana off of just immediately that you can slash with and do some damage, but you pick up these cards that are also guns. For example, there's a pistol card that you can use and you can shoot enemies. But then if you go to discard that card, it has another ability. In the case of the pistol, the ability is that it gives you an extra height jump. So it effectively will give you a double jump.
Interesting.
So then you have to kind of feel it out, and it's pretty intuitive as to when you need to shoot and then jump and use that extra double jump to get to the next platform. And other guns do something like there's one that does a bomb that damages enemies if you discard it and also will give you a damage boost. There's one that does like just a straight like plow through that you can use to kill enemies. And really, it uses these mechanics to kind of switch up the gameplay and keep you moving fluidly through the level and also dealing with enemies and getting to the end of the stage. That's a really simplified kind of overview of the gameplay, and it's kind of hard to, like I said, hard to explain it any better without just saying like it works perfectly. It has just enough flexibility that you can kind of not feel like you have to be frame perfect, but it also is enough tightness that you are able to not feel like the runs are being messed up by the controls.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. And I was just kind of scrolling through the page a little bit a bit ago, finding just kind of reading about it, and I found this review for Neon White here, and I'd just like to read it to you, Greg.
Please lay it on me.
And let me get the right tone of voice here for this.
Get in the
review,
right frame of mind.
Yeah, listen, it's a journey from start to finish. Okay, zip, zam, zibbity bop.
Oh.
That's it.
Oh wow! Okay, beautiful.
It's a really beautiful review.
I think that's art, and it also gives you all the information you need.
It does. I can tell you that it gives you all the information you need because 8 people found it helpful, and 2 people thought that was a little funny.
Just wait, does it specifically say a little funny?
I wish it did. That would be really good.
that was a little funny.
It's just a little silly.
Yeah, but like I said, to kind of at the start of this and to finish up here, it is a game that comes very highly recommended for me. I think if you have a Steam Deck, it's the perfect game that can just sit on there, and you can jump in a level here, jump in a level there. It'll probably suck you in for longer. I put about 90 minutes in over the past 2 days, just when I had a little bit of time here or there, probably broken up into like 4 sessions.
Yep.
It's just, it's so hard to find a game that does gameplay mechanics better than this. Like all of them just work so well together.
Yeah.
It's kind of, if I were to make a comparison, I think in my head I keep going back to Trials Fusion or any of those Trials games. I don't know if you've ever played a Trials game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just are very easy to kind of loop and go back and try and cut off time from your run, and it kind of makes for an addicting gameplay loop.
Yeah, I think the closest thing like a time shaving game like that for me is probably like the old Super Meat Boy games and stuff.
Oh my god, Caleb. We could do an episode alone on that game.
We really should. That's going to be like our 1 year mark. Super Meat Boy.
Yep. I broke a controller to that game, but I also beat it. It's one of my proudest gaming moments because that game's so hard.
Yeah, you broke a controller. I broke down mentally. Yeah.
Still seeing a therapist because of Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, I have meat-related dreams. Oh.
Yeah, I think that's even a good comparison too, because that's also kind of a puzzle platform game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, like I said, if any of this sounds at all interesting to you, you think this might be something I like, pick this game up. It's it does everything so perfectly that if you think you're gonna like it, you're gonna like it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to check it out.
Caleb, what have you been playing this week?
So, um, I've still kind of been in my loop, my never-ending loop of picking up older games because nothing new is really grabbing me. I still haven't played more of Atomic Heart yet, and I don't know what it is at this point. I don't know if I think you know what it might be. I think I've just heard so much like negative stuff about it that like man, I think I'm just scared to even dive into it.
Maybe that game becomes the type of game like Dying Light was for me. I pre-ordered Dying Light because I was so excited about it, and then probably put a couple hours in, probably 3 or 4 hours in when it first came out, and was
Yep.
just like, no, nope, this isn't it. This is not it. But then,
Yeah.
what? I think it was 2 years ago at this point, or maybe last year. I came back to that game. Right, it was right before Dying Light 2 came out, so it was last year, and ran through that game so quickly because I was just like, wow, this game really isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So maybe Atomic Heart would benefit from just a little bit of distance from its release.
Yeah, I think that's the trick for me here cuz well, and it also doesn't help that like I don't know. I haven't played a BioShock type game in a while, and I think as a whole I'm just having a hard time coming back to like story driven first person shooters because I remember beating BioShock 1 and loving it, and then I skipped 2 because 2 wasn't really my cup of tea, but then I played Infinite and I loved Infinite. But then after that, like the whole genre of first person like shooter but also story driven games, I don't know. After that, I think that whole the whole system of the whole formula, I guess, of first person shooters, um, specifically story driven first person shooters. I think that whole formula just kind of got a little stale to me because I in a non terrible way, I think they're all kind of the same. Not calling any game bad here, but I just I think that formula is really hard to introduce new things into, and I'm yet to play a game. I'm yet to play a first-person shooter that brings enough new elements to it that it hooks me. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna have to come back to Atomic Heart. But my first game is a first-person shooter, and it's funny because I'm now contradicting everything I said because it is a story-driven first-person shooter.
Bring it on out here. It's BioShock 1.
Yeah, no, but it's it's a game that I beat the story a while ago, and this is one of the only first-person shooter games that constantly brings me back in. I don't know what it is about it. It's not even the story part anymore because I'm beyond all things story related to the game. I just play it for the fun action. It's Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now I brought this game to the table with a slash in it for Far Cry 6 because I have like two things to say about 6, which is gameplay, fun as always, same Far Cry gameplay, great. Everything else, not a big fan of. And so I think that's why I like Far Cry 5 so much because it has all of the mechanics I love. A big thing that I hate in games nowadays is the trend of having like guns that have like levels, like you get like a normal gun or a legendary variant of it or something. I hate that kind of stuff. I would rather just have one gun that is a standard gun that everybody has that I can just customize and do what I want to. And that's why Far Cry 5 is so amazing to me because it's a game that like I mean it doesn't I can't say it necessarily rewards changing up your tactics, but it certainly feels rewarding to me when I go from using the standard weapon set I usually use to switching it up and throwing in all of these crazy weapons that Far Cry 5 has, like the shovel launcher, which launches shovels. It's great. But yeah, Far Cry 5 is what I'm bringing right now. I've been playing it a lot. They just released for the like the 5th anniversary or something. They just released the 60 FPS boost for PlayStation 5 consoles. And to me that was just another excuse to go back and play probably one of my favorite games. And so yeah, so I've been dabbling in that a little bit. The story's great in that game. Have you played Far Cry 5, Greg?
Yeah, I beat it about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago.
Okay, yeah. I know you were playing it, but yeah, I meant have you beat it? Yeah. Um, it's the story's half and half. All right, I will say that.
The story is extremely half and half, and I've read the review or the reasons behind why they ended it the way they did and all that. But God, just the worst ending I've ever seen in a video
Yeah,
game.
absolutely. To avoid spoilers, we won't talk about it here, but you'll definitely have to tell me about that. The thing you're reading about. I'd love to hear why they ended it the way they did.
We can avoid spoilers and get into that. Basically, the game ended the way it did, and truth be told, who really is too concerned about Far Cry 5 spoilers in the year 2023?
Yeah, that's true too.
If you are, you can probably just skip ahead about 30 seconds and save yourself a little bit of time if you're really that worried
Yeah.
about it. But that game ends with just the bleakest ending no matter what you choose.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason they did it, from what I've read, is like to set up, because New Dawn was the next game they were coming
Yeah.
out with, they were just setting up for New Dawn.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured.
But okay, now sorry, I was about to lean back and let you continue going on Far Cry 5, but I've got my soapbox
Yeah, no,
here.
go for it.
Why, if you set up through this whole game that there are nuclear capacities, and even if John C has them, why wouldn't you just let the game end on a positive note? You know, like stories typically do,
Yep.
and then you can set up New Dawn with like a thing in the beginning being like, well, after John got out of power, then Rachel Seed came in and she was so pissed off that John died that she blew everyone
Yeah.
up. Like, it's that easy to set it up, to give the player a happy ending and set up New
Yeah.
Dawn. It is that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you played New Dawn?
I have not.
Okay. Let me go on my little soapbox here. All right. New Dawn is where they started changing everything. And I feel like some of the changes were cool and 90% of them were garbage. And I have no clue why they did it. Going back to, I hate like tiered weapons like that. New Dawn immediately starts off with like tiered weapons, and that's the whole thing, is like you have these shitty rusty guns that are tier 1, and then you get newer guns that are other tiers, and like that's a cool concept in theory, right? But I feel like in practice you just make it so like I can't use the guns I want to use because they end up sucking or something, you know? And like with Far Cry 5, the beauty of not having a tiered weapon system is that I can use any gun at any time I want. And while yeah, there's definitely weaker guns, I don't feel like I'm limited to, well, I got to use this tier if I want to beat guys from this area. You know what I mean? With Far Cry 5, I can use any gun, no matter how weak it is, and still feel like I have a good fighting chance in the game.
The funny thing is, it's very Borderlands, you know? Like, the tiered weapon thing is absolutely straight out of Borderlands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Borderlands, there are good games in that series, and there are not so good games in that series.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, Borderlands is Borderlands. If you want to play Borderlands, you can play that game. No one's super clamoring for a lot more looter shooters, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, pick up Destiny if you want it. Pick up whatever The Division, I think, is Tom Clancy. That's a looter shooter.
Oh yeah.
There are other looter shooters, but I don't think anyone was clamoring for the Far Cry series to become a looter shooter.
No, definitely not. And that's one of the new things with Far Cry 6 that really irritates me is now instead of like going and buying guns, you can. There are some vendors that sell guns in Far Cry 5 and stuff, but I feel like most of it, instead of going and buying the guns, is you go and you find these loot crates out in the map that give you what I would have to assume is a randomized gun, because I've done a couple missions like twice, once on like my save and then once with like my brother on his save, and I got a different weapon doing that save, and so I'm pretty sure they're randomized. I could be wrong about this, but yeah, they're all just kind of like these loot box kind of things, and yeah, it really bums me out. Because no, that was my favorite part of Far Cry 5 was going and getting cool guns and upgrading them, and that's one of the reasons I still play Far Cry 5. Because I'm still working my way through getting all of the guns, having all of them unlocked, and there's a lot to go from. And like sometimes they're pretty similar to another one, or sometimes It's like a variant of a gun. But you can still have the loadout you want, and you don't have to worry about weapon tiers or anything like that. Um, but yeah, now I do have one complaint about Far Cry 5. Okay, this is probably one of my favorite games of all time. I play it all the time. I've beat it, and like I don't really have any desire to go back and beat the story again, but I have gone through Outpost Master, which resets all of the enemy outposts. It keeps all the missions completed and stuff, but it just resets outposts. I've done Outpost Master probably 2 to 3 times now, and I'm still going back and doing it more because it's just so fun. But my big complaint with the game, all right, this is a real complaint I have. You play as a cop, okay?
Yeah, you're very liberal that way, so I understand.
Why are there no cop cars? I just want to ride around in a cool cop car. Give me a Crown Vic. Let me ride around in it. Let me put on the siren, blast have the lights flashing. Give me that experience. Give the people what they want. Cop cars.
Crown Vics.
Yeah, Crown Vics specifically.
So I'll tell you why that wasn't a problem for me in my game, and it's because I really just want to tell you very specifically what car I drove around all game.
Yeah, please do.
It came unlocked for me because I had messed around a little bit with Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Yep.
So there was a car specifically in that game, or in Far Cry 5, that was like had a paint job from the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Yeah, was it all neon?
Yeah. So fun. Anytime I could, I would just get that get that car out of the garage and just ride that thing around because like it's so stupid and out of place in that game, and that's exactly what I wanted out of Far Cry 5 when I was playing it.
Oh yeah.
Was just like ridiculous gameplay and just silliness. So it was perfect.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought up the silliness of it, because that's one of the things. Like, I know I just went on that little rant a bit ago about story driven first person shooter games, but that's one of the things that sets Far Cry apart from that genre, I guess, for me, is the fact that Far Cry is open world. There's side quests to do and stuff, and it never feels like you're specifically being railroaded. You know what I mean? I still feel like I can tackle most missions the way I want to do them.
There were some parts of Far Cry 5 where I felt like it was almost too open-ended.
Yeah, absolutely. And because of that open world and how they let you do things, one of the best things for me, and I'm sure one of the worst things for other people, but one of the best things for me is just how silly and wacky and crazy it gets. Because it's an open world, and it's constantly trying to put enemies near you and put animals near you, and like, man, the amount of times I've seen just like NPCs walking down the road, and all of a sudden they get tackled by a moose or a bear, and then they fight that, and then a truck full of bad guys shows up, and now they're all fighting, and the bear's still over there.
And there's fire for some reason now.
Oh,
somewhere fire propagated.
There's always fire. There's always fire. It's like the bears come with flamethrowers. Yeah.
There are at least 4 to 5 clips on my Xbox of just the chaos that game brought.
Yeah, it's super funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might have to find some good clips from our playing and put those on our socials, because I think that'd be pretty good. But yeah, it's just a great game. Yeah, the silliness and craziness of it only makes it better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the other things that Far Cry 6 has been lacking for me, is it can get a little crazy, but I don't feel like it gets as crazy as Far Cry 5 did. And Far Cry 6 is a decent game to me. I think the addition of things like Supremos and more of like the legendary guns and stuff, I think those get a little boring to me the more I play with them. But I hardly find myself using the Supremos, because I think I'd rather just use like RPGs or something, and but yeah, it's still a decent game.
Now, isn't there a dog on wheels in that game?
You're bringing up Chorizo.
No, I love that little guy. I love him. I've just seen him in the like donkey videos and whatnot, but I love that little guy.
So it's funny because I've been playing this a little bit with my brother, because it's cross gen too, which is really nice. Cross play and cross gen, and so I've been playing it with my brother, and he has like this robot dog that he got for pre-ordering or something, and he uses that as a companion. And when you play multiplayer, it actually lets you still have a companion too. So like, I can play with my brother, and he has his dog, and I can have my companion. It's funny because I immediately did what I usually do when I'm playing solo, which is I have Chorizo as a companion, but I don't use him to attack people because 90% of the time I end up sniping. So he's just kind of my emotional support buddy, and he just kind of hangs out while I'm taking shots.
I wish they made a little vest for him, just a little orange vest for like emotional support chorizo.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is pretty good. And there's a I don't want to, once again, I'll try to avoid spoiling things here, but in Far Cry 6 they, I think recently, maybe not too recent, but somewhat recently, they added a Stranger Things mission, um which if you haven't done it yet and you have Far Cry 6, highly recommend it. It was one of the only like big highlights I've had playing Far Cry 6 by myself. That mission it's pretty good. Could it be better? Of course, but it is pretty good. The whole plot of it, without spoiling it, is you Chorizo gets taken into the Upside Down, and so the whole premise is that you're getting back Chorizo, and it's a wild time, very fun, highly recommend.
That does sound pretty fun.
Yeah. So Greg, why don't you tell me about your second topic?
I think we can do that. Now it's the season of March Madness here. Little basketball tournament.
Oh yeah.
I've got college basketball on in the background actually as we record this, just keeping an eye on it because there's a big game going on right now.
Yep.
But I thought that I had an idea, and it's a very original and not at all overdone idea. So let's do a little March Madness on our own here on this podcast.
Okay.
Now you're a PlayStation guy, right?
I am.
Sony crony, if you will.
Yeah, you could say that. And it's worth noting too. I've never had any ill thoughts about Xbox. The only reason I'm PlayStation is just because it's what I grew up with. So
and you've also been in the Nintendo stratosphere, right? You have your PC.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I do have a little bit of everything. So I
Yeah.
am able to dip into Xbox related things too. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because I thought, what better way to do a March Madness tournament than to have Caleb decide his favorite Xbox exclusive video game series.
Oh boy. Okay.
So Caleb, I've picked and seeded 8 Xbox exclusive game series, and I'm going to present the matchups for you to determine the official best Xbox exclusive.
Okay.
So, at number 1, we have Halo going up against the number 8 video game series, Kinect Adventures.
Well, I can tell you what's not going to win, Halo. I'm going Kinect now. Yeah, okay. I think Halo wins that, yeah.
Okay. Now, I do want to, before we go too much further, I excluded the Forza series, both Motorsport and Horizon, because I know that they've recently had a pretty big presence on PC, and I know you've even played a Forza Horizon game on PC.
I have with my wheel.
Yes.
Oh.
So I wanted to exclude that, even though it is definitely it's definitely in the top 8 of Xbox exclusive series.
Okay, and speaking of my wheel and stuff, I'm just going to throw this out here, all right? There will be an episode in the future where one of the games I bring is Truck Simulator. You better be prepared for it.
Oh my god, I cannot wait. Caleb, you are you're setting yourself up for a second career as a truck driver.
Listen, when you roll down the virtual windows and you get some Billy Joel blasting on the radio, you just drive, man. You just drive.
You just drive. with the pine tree scent hanging just somewhere in the room.
Yeah, I was telling my brother when I play that game, I like to put my arm up on a fake dash. Just kind of leave it there.
Okay, don't get me sidetracked. We have a lot of good games to get to.
Of course, yeah.
At number 2, our number 2 ranked game is Gears of War. The Gears of War series is going up against number 7 ranked Viva Pinata.
I've never played Viva Pinata, nor have I played Gears of War. But Gears of War used to have really cool Easter eggs When I used to watch Easter egg videos and stuff, I'd always see a Gears of War game on there, and they always had
Hmm.
some pretty cool ones. So for that alone, I'm voting Gears of War.
Yeah. Now, as the resident Xbox guy, I've tried some of the older Gears of War games, but Gears 5 is the only one that I've gotten into.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed that game. But anyway, we're gonna keep it moving here. The number 3 game. It's a little game that I included because I personally have such a fondness for this game. It's Sunset Overdrive, and it's going up against our number 6 seeded Crackdown, the Crackdown series.
Now I know you've told me about Sunset Overdrive, and honestly, it still looks like a really interesting game to me. I've never played it. It is on a list of games to eventually get to. I am looking up Crackdown right now because I have no clue what that even is.
Sunset Overdrive is a great game. Long pause while I type.
Yeah.
Buy myself time.
I gotta tell you right now, just from looking at it, Crackdown does not look for me. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Sunset Overdrive.
Okay, Sunset Overdrive moves on. Very great game. It was a Xbox One, pretty much a launch title. Just a blast to play. Think like Jet Set Radio meets like Borderlands.
Oh, honestly, I think Jet Set Radio was the one I was actually thinking of. But you know what? I'm still gonna give it to Sunset Overdrive.
Now, Caleb, we're into our final matchup of the first round here.
Okay.
Our number 4 series is State of Decay going up against our number 5 series, Fable.
I really enjoy State of Decay.
Right.
I played State of Decay 2 quite a bit, and I gotta say, I'm a fan. I am a fan. It's one of those games that, like, man, I can't play it for too long because it does get really repetitive for me. But anytime I want a zombie game, but not like a Dying Light zombie game, anytime I want a zombie game with more like management and more of that feeling of like a group of survivors rather than a dude that does extreme parkour to evade zombies. Man, I gotta tell you, State of Decay is usually like my go-to zombie game. So
All right.
I will be voting State of Decay.
Seems like State of Decay might have a little home field advantage here, as being one of the only games you've played here.
It definitely does.
Well, there is no rest for the wicked here, as we're going into the second round, and immediately our number 4 ranked State of Decay is going to have to go up against number 1 ranked Halo.
Now, okay, I know that this is a tough one, all right, and I know people aren't going to agree with me here. Okay, the Halo games do hold a special place in my heart, believe it or not. Even though I didn't grow up, playing all of the Halo games, as much as I did, say, like Call of Duty or something. But Halo, the first Halo game, and I don't know, maybe some other one later down the road. I did play them with a friend of mine that I grew up with who had Xbox, and then I also played them when I was really young, because my uncle had an Xbox and he used to babysit me and my brother when we were super little. So Halo does have a special place in my heart. However, recently I've tried to get more into Halo, and it just isn't happening for me. I don't know what it is about the games. I've tried a couple different ones. I got that Master Chief collection on PC and was playing that, and I don't know, both multiplayer and single player, the stories, they're not getting me. So I know that probably nobody's going to agree with this, but I'm gonna have to give it to State of Decay, because that is a game that has actively hooked me before. It's a game that I still come back to, and overall, I think it's a really good experience.
Halo goes down. Oh, my number 1 seed is out of the tournament.
Nice.
I can't believe it. I can't. Who could have foreseen this?
Listen, it's a controversial opinion, I know, but we got
all pundits.
Every
single pundit going into this tournament said Halo was the favorite to go on.
We got to get a little crazy,
Caleb, let's find the finals matchup, the finals opponent for State of Decay. Here we have our number 3 ranked Sunset Overdrive going up against our number 2 ranked Gears of War.
I will be doing Gears of War.
Okay. Keeping it short, keeping it sweet. Putting the dagger into my dreams of Sunset Overdrive, ever seeing a sequel.
Man, listen, here's the thing. Gears of War has an Easter egg with a golden chicken, and it's just beautiful.
Hey, how can you turn down a golden chicken?
You can't. You can't.
You just can't.
No.
Now, I do want to point out that I just said that you put the dagger in my dreams of a Sunset Overdrive sequel, as if Insomniac Games hasn't been owned by Sony for at least 3 years now.
Yeah. It's been owned by me.
Yeah, well, you are the Sony crony, so.
Yeah.
Caleb, I want to hear what you have to say about our finals matchup here in the Pint and Click March Madness of Xbox exclusives.
All right.
We are going into this. Our favorites of the finals have to be our number 2 seeded Gears of War, longtime series, formerly owned by Epic Games, going up against our 4 seed State of Decay.
Now, this one's pretty easy for me because one, I've played a lot. I have multiple hours on record, and one, I've never played, but I did watch a golden chicken run around. So I got to give it to the golden chicken.
Yeah, the Gears of War. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, I gotta go with State of Decay. I played it. It's a great game. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. It has so many cool features that I wish would be put into more zombie games. The whole like when you search a cabinet or something, it makes noise, and that can attract other zombies and stuff. That's amazing to me, and that's so cool. And not to say that I don't have any problems with it. I definitely do. State of Decay it's both a really good game and one that I've had a nightmare of a time playing occasionally. I find the shooting to be kind of wonky sometimes. The melee combat never feels quite right to me. And the whole grabbing rucksacks of materials and bringing them back, and that's just kind of the gameplay loop, it gets a little tiring, a little boring, But overall, I do highly recommend State of Decay. I think it's a great game.
Caleb, you really touched on my biggest problem with State of Decay. I played the kind of intro missions of the second game, State of Decay 2.
Yep.
I played the intro missions of that second game. Really enjoyed it. Thought like you, I like the idea of base management and all that, and that seems cool.
Yeah.
But then when it opens up, it's just go find this rucksack or go fight this big zombie. It's there's just so very little. It's almost the same thing as Far Cry 5, whereas there was not enough hand-holding in a way. But also, I think the gameplay loop, when you make a decision on what you want to do, is just kind of weak.
Yeah, and I think some of the biggest things for me in that game, I loved finding bases and moving my big home base to different locations. I loved getting bigger bases and having more room to build things. Because overall, I personally found the base building to be pretty enjoyable. But I think the big thing for me, the big thing that I think the game handles really well is getting new survivors to join you. It's not like Fallout 4 where they just come to your settlement all the time and you just keep growing without really having to do much. Instead, you go and you find these other groups of survivors and you help them out in some way. Sometimes it's clearing a building of zombies, sometimes it's getting them supplies, but you help them out, and then you can invite them to join you. And I just like that mechanic a lot. I like that there's other survivors in the world, and you don't have to have them join you. You can even make them your enemies, and that was honestly one of the most fun things I found. If you play the game with kind of being like Negan from The Walking Dead and just kind of taking over settlements, it actually adds a whole nother layer of enjoyment to it, because now you have these groups that you'll find, and sometimes they're big groups, sometimes they're small, but you'll find them scattered around the maps. And it is really fun when you get into gunfights with other NPCs. That's actually some of the most fun I've had playing the game, because the zombies can get a little easy and a little boring, but gunfights with NPCs always stayed interesting to me.
You know, I think you've really kind of highlighted the potential I saw in State of Decay 2,
Yep.
and you have me very I don't know if excited's the right word, but you have me very intrigued by like if a State of Decay 3 is to come along,
Yeah.
because I think if they keep a lot of these mechanics you're talking about, but kind of give you a clearer or even just an option for a more clear progression path through that game, and kind of give you even just an option to do some kind of assisted guidance on what you should do next.
Yep.
I think they could really tighten up that gameplay loop and have like a really interesting game that I would be really intrigued to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth mentioning too. It's definitely a topic for another episode when we get more time to talk about it. But yeah, the new Dead Island game is coming out soon.
Yeah,
And
I've heard some pretty ungood things about people or about that game from people that have had their hands on it early.
really, I haven't looked into reviews yet, so I'll be interested to hear how that goes. But I did watch the trailers that they released, and it looked phenomenal. But yeah, but we'll definitely have to talk that in another episode.
Caleb, I officially adorn you, the official pint and click reviewer of Dead Island.
All right, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah.
Anyway, you've heard it here first. State of Decay is the best, unquestionably, no objections to be had, the best Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. If you've got complaints, send them to Wendy's.
Send them to Wendy's. You know what's really funny about that? Is I was looking down, just checking in to see if there was an update on the game that was going on, and it was a Wendy's commercial as you said that.
Wow, that's good. That
It really freaked my bean there for a second.
Yep,
Anyways, Caleb, you've brought me a second topic for this week.
I have. I've brought you a second topic. The second game I'm bringing to you is one that I haven't played yet or recently, I guess. I have played it before. I'm hoping to get back into it because it's a game that I fall out of, and I really enjoy it. I'm gonna be diving back into Dragon Ball Z Kakarot pretty soon here.
Did our talks last week inspire you?
Did we talk about this game?
We didn't talk
yeah,
about this game. We talked about
yeah.
the character designer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. You know what? Did it? Yeah. It was the. Sorry, we talked about Akira Toriyama. I completely forgot we talked about him.
So no is the answer.
No. Well, but it was something from our last episode. That. Oh, I can't think what it's called now. The Echoes one.
Chained Echoes. The one on. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That art style made me think a lot about a different Dragon Ball Z game called The Legacy of Goku.
Yeah. And that's what led us into talking about it. So yes, I am taking credit for inspiring you.
Yeah, please do. But yeah, so I'm diving back into Dragon Ball Z Kakarot because The Legacy of Goku. Let's start there. The Legacy of Goku was a game that I've grown up playing. Legacy of Goku 2 to be specific here, because Legacy of Goku 1, as most people know, is it's a little wonky. But Legacy of Goku 2 is that's where they refined it, and they really perfected it. But it's a great Dragon Ball Z game, and it's probably one of the only Dragon Ball Z RPGs where you play as the different characters from Dragon Ball Z. You level them up. As you level them up, you get new skills. You get new new attacks, I guess. You get more health and more stamina and more better attributes and stuff. Yeah, it's like a full blown RPG, but in the Dragon Ball Z universe. And before we had Kakarot, that was actually a pretty like unique thing to see with Dragon Ball Z games, because I've definitely searched around for them growing up, and I never really found much. So Legacy of Goku 2 is what I grew up playing, and that game takes place during the Cell Saga, which, Greg, I'm not aware. How familiar are you with Dragon Ball Z?
I know that they're an anime. I know that they started as one of those mangas.
Okay, good. So you know everything about it. So um, yeah, no, it's a show I grew up watching with my brother and stuff, and no, I've always loved it. Yeah, Legacy of Goku was one of the earliest games I've played, and I had it on my Game Boy Advance, and yeah, it was a great game. I loved it, and yeah, it takes place during the Cell Saga, which is one of the earlier chapters in well, you can't call that early, I guess. That's
I
a
wouldn't dream
later
of it.
chapter, but no, it's a great game. It's an RPG, and you have side quests and other things you can do. Um, and because I loved that so much, when I heard that they were making Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I was just so stoked for it, and I wanted nothing more than to just get my hands on it and play it. And then it came out, and I played it. I got through. I probably got like up to like the middle of the Frieza saga, and then I just stopped, and I just had no desire to go back to it. A couple months go by, and then I got back into it, and I made it through the Cell saga, and then I stopped again, and it's just one of those games that I keep falling out of, um, for whatever reason. It's not even like I don't find it fun. I do. I enjoy the combat. I think it's decent. I do think the combat can get a little repetitive, but all in all, I like it a lot, and I like all of the RPG aspects of like using these skill points that you get to unlock new moves and to unlock enhanced moves and stuff. Um, so I love Kakarot in that way, but some of the things that I don't like about it, I feel like sometimes the pacing gets a little weird. You finish the saga and then you have an intermission, and sometimes I felt like those intermissions are either too long or just too boring, and they don't really get my attention, and like I just want to move on to the next segment. And I think it's those intermissions where I usually stop playing the game. It really is just a 3D Legacy of Goku experience. And if you haven't played Legacy of Goku, I recommend that. I recommend that more than I recommend Kakarot, believe it or not, because that game is just so great, and it was a huge piece of my childhood. So I'm definitely recommending it with that in mind. But I recommend that, and I do recommend Kakarot as well. If you did play the Legacy of Goku games, and you liked all of the RPG things they did, I do recommend Kakarot.
Interesting. I love a good like just game from the childhood suggestion
Yeah,
because I think it's so hard to come at a back like a generation prior like the Game Boy Advance and be like these games are good because I think games have come so far since then that it's hard to go back and give the patience that's needed to get into a game back
yeah,
then.
absolutely.
But when you have someone kind of curate that list that for you and be like, this is a game that I got down with when I was a kid, love it, really, really like shaped my childhood in a way. It's like, oh, cool, that's a place where I can like go and be like, this is gonna be at least a decent enough game that it is worth putting time into.
Oh yeah. And it follows the Dragon Ball Z story with some added plots and stuff, some things to kind of kill time while you're doing it. Because that's one of the things that the Legacy of Goku games did is each game kind of tackled one saga. And so, there's not always enough stuff that happens in one saga where they can make a whole game out of it. So sometimes you get these bonus missions or stuff. And I know I said that actually. And before I get called out on that, yeah, Legacy of Goku 1 actually covered two sagas. But yeah, Legacy of Goku 2 is the Cell slash Android saga, which I've always considered the same thing, honestly. And then they made a Legacy of Goku 3, or sorry, it's not called Legacy of Goku 3. It should be. That's what they should have called it, but it's called Boo's Fury. And I don't know if it's actually named anything to do with Legacy of Goku, but it is the same game, but it's Boo's Fury and it follows the Boo saga, which that game takes what Legacy of Goku 2 did, because that's my favorite out of the games, just because it's the one I played as a kid and I love it. But Boo's Fury takes what Legacy of Goku did and expands upon it so much that it becomes an even better game, and there's just so much more to it in Boo's Fury, and you get like these almost random encounters you can find while flying around the map where you'll find a submarine or like an airship, and you can land there, and it's just this like little battle you get to do with a bunch of guys, and then you get a reward for doing it. And it's not required that you do those, and so it's just fun things like that you can find, and yeah, a really really enjoyable experience. I can't recommend Boost Fury enough. But yeah, so I'm hoping to dive back into Kakarot and give that another shot, because they've also started releasing. Well, started. They've been doing it. I just haven't touched them yet. But they released DLCs for it too, that look pretty interesting. And I think they follow some other plots from Dragon Ball Z. So I'm excited to dip into those too. But yeah, overall, I recommend all of those games. And the Legacy of Goku games, one last thing to add to them, they are old Game Boy Advance games, but the art style they have, it looks just as good now as it did back then. In my opinion, it hasn't aged. I've played some Game Boy games that look rough nowadays, but no, the Legacy of Goku games kind of have this like cartoony art style to them where like I think they hold up even today.
Well, kind of doing a quick look on Google Images here, and yeah, you can kind of tell when games from that era didn't try to overextend on like the classic kind of 16-bit graphics.
Yeah,
they do a really good job of holding up well, and that's the thing about the 16-bit graphics. Link to the Past has never gotten like a remake, arguably because those graphics still look as good today as they did the day they dropped.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So I think that was one thing that the games of that time that didn't try to overextend on their graphical capabilities really did manage to hold up well.
Yeah, and I'm currently downloading the upgraded PS5 version of Kakarot. I probably don't need to. I'm probably fine to just play the PS4 version, but I'm really hoping that this upgraded version makes more use of the haptic feedback and stuff. So
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Well, I hope that game gives you everything you want out of it. That'd be you gotta love a good game that's a throwback.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those Legacy of Goku games are great. And I think I just thought of one more thing to say about it too. In the Kakarot games, my one complaint I have, because I don't know if I've touched enough on complaints, but one complaint I have is that you don't really get to interact with like the NPCs that walk around the maps. And that's a little sad to me, because I know in Legacy of Goku you could interact with people, you could talk to them, and like depending on who your character is, people would have different things to say to you. So
Right.
if you play as Piccolo, who is a tall green alien, they're called Namekians in the show, but if you play as Piccolo, who's just this tall green guy, and you talk to people, they'll point out that you're green, and that's just funny because like they should,
Yeah, it's what a person would do.
Yeah, yeah. And so stuff like that was always cool, and there might even be different dialogue options for if like a character has a different form, like if you go Super Saiyan or something, there might even be different dialogue options for that. I can't quite remember, but yeah, there's a lot of cool small things in those Legacy of Goku games that just help make them such great games. And yeah, I'm hoping that when I dive back into Kakarot, I'll get those childhood feelings once again.
Nice. Well, Caleb, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap it up this week?
I really don't. I really don't.
All right then. Well, I will say to our listeners, if you have any complaints about the Far Cry 6 kind of leveled weapon system, please send them directly to Caleb and I, because Ubisoft isn't going to be listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you have any complaints about the Legacy of Goku games, I don't want to hear them. But if you have good things to say about them, send us a little message. Let's talk about my childhood.
Be sure to CC Wendy's on that one.
Yeah, please do. It goes to me, but also Wendy's corporate. We don't have an HR department here, so we're borrowing Wendy's.
Yeah, we're subletting Wendy's HR department.
Well,
man.
Thank you all for listening. Make sure you follow, subscribe, hit the like button, upvote us. Do what you gotta do.
Do what you must.
Do what Colonel Sanders has told you to do. All right.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and until next week.
Until next time.